There is someone listening to this message right now who is tired. Not physically tired, but tired in their spirit. You have prayed, you have believed, you have waited, and yet it feels like nothing is changing. You started strong. You started with faith. You started believing that God had something greater ahead for you. But somewhere along the journey, the process became heavy. The waiting became longer than you expected. The doors didn't open when you expected. The breakthrough didn't happen when you prayed. The answers didn't come when you hoped. The obstacles became harder than you imagined. And now, a quiet voice whispers in your mind, maybe it's time to quit. Maybe you should stop trying. Maybe this dream was never meant for you. Maybe God forgot about you. And now you're tired. You're wondering if you should keep going or just quit. But if you are listening to this message today, hear this. Because God is saying something very important to you. God did not bring you this far for you to quit now. The process you are in is not punishment. It is preparation. And if you walk away now, you may walk away from the very breakthrough that is closer than you think. Because what God is building in you right now is far greater than what you are going through. The Bible reminds us in Galatians 6:9, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." Notice what this verse says. It does not say you will reap if you are talented. It does not say you will reap if everything is easy. It says you will reap if you do not give up. That means the harvest exists. The blessing exists. The breakthrough exists. But quitting cancels what perseverance would have delivered. This message is for the person who feels like giving up. This is your reminder. Stop quitting in the process. Because God is still working. One of the hardest truths to accept in life is this. God is more concerned with who you become than how fast you arrive. We love the promise. We celebrate the breakthrough. We talk about the miracle. We celebrate the destination. But we struggle with the journey. And very few people talk about the process. The process is the waiting. The process is the growth. The process is when God shapes and God does His greatest work in the process. The Bible says in Romans 5:3-4, "Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope." Notice the order. Suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance produces character. Character produces hope. In other words, God builds strength step by step, but many people quit in the middle of the process. They walk away before perseverance produces character. They stop before the transformation happens. Imagine a sculptor working on a masterpiece. At first, the stone looks rough. Pieces are being chipped away. Dust is everywhere. If the stone could speak, it might say, "This hurts. Why are you cutting me?" But the sculptor sees something the stone cannot see, a masterpiece. And in the same way, God sees something in you that you cannot yet see. He sees the leader you will become. He sees the testimony you will carry. He sees the lives you will impact. But the process is what shapes you. And the enemy knows this. That is why the enemy tries to convince you to quit. Because if you quit, you will never become the person God is shaping you to be. One of the greatest strategies of the enemy is not always destruction. Sometimes it is discouragement. If the enemy cannot destroy you, he will try to discourage you. If he cannot stop the promise, he will try to stop your patience. Because discouragement leads to quitting, and quitting stops destiny. The Bible says in 1 Peter 5:8, "Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy the devil prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour." Notice something important. The enemy is looking for someone to devour, and the easiest people to devour are the ones who are tired, discouraged, and ready to give up. When you feel like quitting, you must recognize something. The battle is not just physical, it is spiritual. The enemy whispers lies like, "It's taking too long. Nothing is changing. God isn't listening. You should stop trying." But those whispers are not the voice of God, because the voice of God always calls you forward, not backward. God calls you to endure. God calls you to stand. God calls you to keep believing. When God gives a promise, the promise rarely arrives immediately. There is almost always a process in between. And the process is where many people give up. But the process is not a mistake. It is part of the plan. The Bible says in James 1:2-4, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Before you leave this message, I want to remind you of this. The fact that you are still here, the fact that you are still breathing, the fact that you are still believing, even if your faith feels small, means God is not finished with you yet. You may feel tired and discouraged. You may feel like the process has taken longer than you expected, but delay is not denial. God is still working behind the scenes in ways you cannot yet see. The Bible reminds us in Hebrews 10:36, "You need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what He has promised." You will receive what He has promised. But perseverance comes first. Standing in faith comes first, not quitting. Some of the greatest miracles in the Bible happened after people refused to quit. They prayed again, they believed again, they stood again. And that is what God is calling you to do today, to stand again, pray again, and believe again. Even if the road is long, even if the process is hard, even if the answers have not arrived yet. Because the moment you feel like quitting may be the moment you are closest to breakthrough. Remember what God says in Isaiah 40:31, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint." So if you came into this message feeling like giving up, let this be the moment you decide, "I will not quit in the process. I will trust God, even when I do not understand. I will keep walking even when the road feels long. I will keep believing, because God's promises never fail." Your story is not over. Your breakthrough is still possible. Your testimony is still being written. So keep going, because one day you will look back and realize the process that almost made you quit was the very process God used to prepare you for everything He promised. And when that day comes, you will be grateful that you didn't give up. If this message spoke to your heart today, please don't keep it to yourself. Someone in your life may be going through a difficult season and needs this reminder to keep trusting God and not quit in the process. Share this message with a friend, a family member, or someone who may need encouragement today. And if this channel has been a blessing to you, you can support the mission by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with others. Every share helps us reach more people with messages of faith, hope, and God's promises. Thank you for being part of this community, and may God continue to strengthen and guide you in every step of your journey.